Most people think intelligence announces itself. A high IQ, a difficult degree, fast answers, big words. But some of the smartest people in the room barely look impressive at first. They pause before speaking. They admit when they do not know. They walk away from arguments they could probably win. And they protect their attention like it is money. If intelligence is not just what you know, what does it actually look like in everyday life? It shows up in the things intelligent people refuse to do. Not because they are perfect, not because they never make mistakes, but because they understand that certain behaviors quietly make your thinking worse. And the fifth one is something almost everyone does every day while telling themselves they are being productive. The first thing highly intelligent people avoid is pretending to know what they do not know. It is not. Imagine someone asks you a question in front of a group. You do not know the answer. For many people, the pressure appears instantly. Say something, anything, sound confident, because I do not know feels dangerous. It feels like losing status. But intelligent people see the situation differently. They know that false certainty is more expensive than temporary embarrassment. If they do not know, they say so. Then they get curious. That habit has a name: intellectual humility. It does not mean thinking you are stupid. It means understanding that being intelligent does not make you immune to being wrong. In fact, the more complicated the subject becomes, the more valuable that humility becomes. Because the person willing to say, I might be wrong, can still learn. The person pretending to know has already closed the door. But here is where the second habit becomes more difficult. Smart people do not need to prove they are right every time. Think about the last pointless argument you had. Maybe it started over politics. At first, you were discussing an idea. 10 minutes later, nobody was discussing anything. You were defending identities. That is when intelligent people often step away. Not because they cannot argue, because they understand that not every disagreement is a problem worth solving. In a useful conversation, both people are willing to change their minds. In a pointless one, both are collecting ammunition. Highly intelligent people learn to recognize that difference early. They do not spend an hour trying to force truth into someone who has already decided not to hear it. They ask themselves, is this conversation producing understanding or just heat? And sometimes the smartest response is silence. Now comes the uncomfortable part, because intelligence is not only about controlling what you say, it is also about controlling what you do when emotion is loud. Highly intelligent people do not make major decisions at emotional extremes. That does not mean they ignore feelings. Emotions contain information. Anger can tell you a boundary was crossed. Fear can tell you something feels dangerous. Excitement can tell you something matters. But information is not the same as instruction. When you are furious, your brain can make permanent action feel urgently necessary. Send the message, quit the job, end the relationship, post the response, buy the thing, agree immediately. Then the emotional wave passes, and suddenly the decision looks different. Intelligent people try to create distance between feeling and action. They ask, will I still want this tomorrow? That pause is not weakness. It is emotional regulation, and it prevents temporary states from creating permanent consequences. If this is making you rethink what intelligence actually looks like, hit like and subscribe, because the next two habits are where smart people become very different from people who simply want to look smart. The fourth thing highly intelligent people avoid is surrounding themselves with automatic agreement. Agreement feels good. That is the problem. If everyone around you thinks like you, your ideas stop getting tested. Your blind spots become comfortable. Your assumptions begin sounding like facts. And eventually, confidence grows faster than accuracy. Intelligent people actively look for intelligent disagreement, not constant negativity, not people who attack everything. People who can say, I think you are missing something, and then explain why. That kind of friction improves thinking. A strong idea survives questions. A weak idea either changes or disappears. Both outcomes are useful. This is why being proven wrong can actually become rewarding. You lose an argument, but gain a better map of reality. That is a good trade. The ego hates it. The mind benefits. And that brings us to the fifth behavior, the one modern life rewards constantly. It can make you look ambitious, disciplined, and successful while quietly wasting huge amounts of your life. Intelligent people do not confuse being busy with making progress. Look at a normal day. By evening, you can feel completely exhausted, but ask one question: what actually moved? That question can be brutal, because activity creates the feeling of progress without requiring progress itself. You answered 40 emails, but did the important project move? You spent 3 hours researching, but did you begin? Smart people become suspicious of work that exists mainly to create more work. They understand that effectiveness comes before efficiency. Doing something faster is useless if the thing never mattered, so they protect blocks of attention. They decide what outcome matters most, then organize work around that. This can make them look less busy than everyone else. But appearing busy and being valuable are not the same game. And once you put all 5 behaviors together, something interesting appears. Real intelligence looks quieter than most people expect. It says, I do not know. It leaves useless arguments. It waits before acting emotionally. It invites disagreement. It refuses to worship busyness. None of that looks dramatic. But each habit protects something essential: accuracy, attention, judgment, learning, energy, and those 5 things compound. The person who protects them does not just know more, they make fewer unnecessary mistakes. They change their mind faster when evidence changes. They waste less energy proving themselves. They build better decisions from better information, and here is the hidden connection between all of them. Each behavior creates distance between impulse and judgment. You pause before claiming knowledge. You pause before arguing. You pause before acting on emotion. You pause before accepting agreement. You pause before filling every hour with activity. That pause gives your brain something modern life constantly steals: room to evaluate. Intelligence is not always speed. Sometimes the smartest mind in the room is simply the one that refuses to react before it has actually understood what is happening. So maybe the question is not, how intelligent am I? Maybe the better question is, which behavior keeps making me less intelligent than I could be? Because intelligence is not only something you possess, it is something your habits either protect or sabotage. And sometimes becoming smarter does not require learning one more thing. It requires finally stopping something you already know is hurting you. If this changed the way you think about intelligence, like the video, share it with someone who would enjoy this idea and subscribe. And when you are done, check out our video, How Smart Are You? The 9 Levels of Intelligence. Because once you understand how your mind works, you start seeing everything differently.